Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. The next couple days are going to be super fun because our project is putting up the first interior wall in the metal shop. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you saw in the thumbnail, we are going to get this beautiful interior wall up in the metal building. So the plan is to get the exterior metal sealed up as best I can with silicone and some grate foam. We're going to try and seal it up completely, and that'll knock down on the wind and also the noise. And then we're going to put our 1x4 batten strips up. We're going to put one on the bottom, we're going to put one in the center, and we're going to put one up top. That is what we will attach the 1x12 rough cut lumber to. The reason we are running it vertical is so we can put all the weight from anything I hang on the wall will be sitting on the slab. So before we do that, once we get the 1x4 batten strips installed, we're going to glue and screw those with some metal screws. And then we will go over top of that with a layer of tar paper. The reason for the tar paper, and that's what I decided to do versus insulation, is because I think that'll help cut down on the wind and will kind of make like an air gap insulation behind the rough sawn lumber. And then also if the rough sawn, thank you bud, if the rough lumber decides to shrink up a little bit, which it probably will, you'll just see the black tar paper versus the white metal being behind it. And then also the tar paper will help seal up and kind of cut off the condensation if there is any that builds up on the interior of the metal wall. Without sealing up all the walls in the shop, there's no reason to waste the money or the time insulating just one wall. That is our plan. Are you ready to get started on this project? You ready? Are you gonna help me? All right, let's do it. Let's get started. So I attached this little sample piece right here just to kind of see the strength of what this, like how strong it would be from pulling off, and I can't get this piece off. I tried to twist it and everything, and so with a couple of these screws, every foot or two on this metal beam holding the 1x4 on, and then I'm going to throw up the barn wood after the felt, of course, and nail them on there with my framing nailer and a short little frame nail. I think it'll be plenty.
Oh.
This stuff sticks to metal extremely well when it dries, so I pretty much sprayed it on top of the seam just so it'll kind of swell up on top and seal up the air gap on the seam instead of actually spreading the seam back open. So keep that in mind, and then silicone the bottom, and we are good to install the batten strips. I am pre-drilling a few holes into the 1x4s with the self-tapping screws. If you don't pre-drill, they will try and pull the 1x4 off. I got this empty cavity up here to shoot all my frame nails through, and that way I can use that nailer and it'll go way faster than screwing everything. I really can't think of a better way I could do this, especially with wanting the rough cut barn wood on the whole back wall. It'll give it a really nice accent piece and backdrop for videos for you guys and all that stuff. So super happy with it. I got one piece left across the top, then we can get the felt up. Ice cream?
Yeah.
For lunch? You think so?
Does ice cream first. Ice cream first. Stinking.
That's what you're thinking? All right, so we are ready for the tar paper. That definitely went pretty smooth. That was not hard and did not take long to do the batten strips on there. And I think it's gonna work out great. And as far as supplies, clear silicone right here, these are like $2.50 a tube. And actually I've used 2 tubes. So as you saw, I sealed up the bottom, and then I also ran another strip before I set my 1x2 pressure treated on top. So that should be sealed up really good. If we ever wanna go back and spray the shop out with a water hose, I won't have to worry about the non-pressure treated lumber soaking up any water. These are the same screws that I used for all the electrical stuff in the metal shop. They have a big Phillips head washer type head on it, and then they have a self-tapping tip, and the self-tapping tip is a lot smaller than the thread, so when it actually drills or punches a hole in there, there is still plenty of meat for the threads to grab. And these screws are a lifesaver with this metal shop. So I'll put the link to those in the description below. This sits up perfect. As you can see, most of the weight is sitting right on top of my pressure treated piece of lumber down there. And that way the metal wall will pretty much just be holding the rough cut lumber up straight. And then any load will be transferred straight down to the slab. So I think it's gonna work out great. Hey, bud. What you got? You got your bacon? Yeah. You eat it? This felt plan is working out perfectly. The support plan kind of came to a halt on that. I kind of forgot to come up with a plan for those because I realized I'm going behind the supports with the felt, and then it kind of hit me like, wait a second, I got to unbolt these to run these rough cut boards vertical. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and start running my vertical boards. That's why I stopped halfway with the felt. So then I can just unbolt one support at a time. I'll put the rough cut board up there, and then I cut these 2.5 inch wide 2x4s. Once the rough cut board's up there, I'll just use my framing nailer, attach these in the spot where the 45-degree support goes, and that way I can just screw or nail these right to the lumber, and they'll be supported well. And then I'll just put this support right back up there on a 45-degree and use some wood screws to attach the bottom. And then the top of the support will screw right back into the original spot on the trusses. Just to be clear, I never claimed to be a carpenter. I'm more of a chainsaw and framing nail type of woodworker. Screws back in up top exactly where they were. And then I attach this 2.5 inch 2x4 that I ripped down right here. And then I have a couple metal screws in here. Then I have a long sheetrock screw on each side going actually through all the way to the rough cut board. So this is back attached one at a time, and we have a few more to go. Keep on trucking. My source where I get my rough cut lumber stores it outside, stacked in pallets with some cribbing on it. And they said this is kind of common to have the outdoor lumberyard mold, they call it, on all these dry boards until they get completely dried out. It'll pretty much die off. Just to be on the safe side, so I don't encapsulate that on the wall, I'm just kind of spraying it with a 10% bleach solution. And then when the whole wall's done, I'll go back over and hit the outside of the wall with the bleach solution. And hopefully the fresh air, that stuff will just go away and dry up. Your earmuff, silly turd. We are so happy with how this wall turned out. With how I wanted to set up this new shop and pretty much my main backdrop tool wall, I did not want to have to face the obstacles of attaching stuff to metal and figuring that fabrication out every time I wanted to hang something on the wall. So I chose to make it completely wood. That way, if I want to screw something up, hang a poster, an old vintage sign, do a shelf, I can just screw right to wood the traditional way, and it'll be so much easier. Those are some of the hurdles you have to face when you consider purchasing or building a metal structure. These metal buildings are great, they're cost effective, but there is a lot of hurdles you have to consider when finishing out the inside of them, because the traditional way of building stuff is not really catered to the metal buildings. Your spacing on your wall studs are different. The material is all metal, so all your fasteners have to be different. It's just a few things you have to really think about and consider when you're moving forward on the interior finishes of a building. I feel like we tackled all those obstacles and we definitely set the shop up for success later on down the road. So the steps we took to get this wall complete, first is sealing the metal as best we can on the inside. So we used the grate foam and we used the silicone on the top and bottom and anywhere there was a gap. Secondly, we attached our 1x4 wood battens to the metal beams themselves. I really love the fasteners we used. It was so easy, and I attached those along with glue, construction adhesive for wood to metal. Attach those about every 2 feet down the 1x4 strips on top, middle, and bottom. Once that was complete, we attached our tar paper. That serves two purposes. The first purpose that serves is a moisture barrier. That way, any moisture that is created inside the wall from the metal on the inside, when it heats and cools, will be blocked by that tar paper and won't reach our wood. The second thing it did was, once that rough cut wood actually dries and it shrinks up a little bit, it will have a black backdrop behind the crack. So if you left it white or did like a white paper, that would really be noticeable when that wood starts to shrink. And lastly, we attached the wood over top of the tar paper to our batten strips with a frame nailer. And I just purchased 2-inch framing nails. That way I know once they set the correct depth on the rough cut wood into the 1x4 battens, there was no chance of them penetrating the metal behind it. And we were left with a mostly sealed up air gap behind that rough cut wood that will serve as a little bit of an air insulation, I believe. And we saved a lot of money versus insulating, because again, this being the only wall that we're probably gonna finish out in the shop, realistically, there's no reason to spend a lot of money insulating one wall when the rest of the walls are not gonna be insulated and open. And again, all these product links will be in the description below, and if you wanna see more of this process, I'll put some video links below of the shop build series. As always, thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week on the next shop project.